Welcome back, everyone. And I'm sure you guys have a really good exposure during the break because of the discussion. And in July 2018, a 6-day intensive summer camp was held, and students explored the challenge and potential of sustainability and artificial intelligence. Today is a chance for students to share their insights in this students' conference. We are going to listen to a student speaker talking about issues that may completely change the world. For example, AI. And talking about AI, even when we talk about AI, which is something that really important in our future, we cannot miss one key element, which is government. People like us are profoundly affected by the government, and that's why we will start with students' discussions on governance, centralization or decentralization. Please welcome Ricky, Tungsten, and Teddy.
Let's start with the history of humankind. It is important to recognize that human society did not start with a government or a specific social structure. Unlike bees, the willingness to obey to a more powerful human being is not genetically encoded into ourselves. And thus, in the Stone Age, our society took form of a primitive anarchy, of hunter-gatherers or nomads. And there was very little to go around with, so to maintain survival, everyone had to be taking the role of producers. Due to scarcity, humans of the societies maintained egalitarian relationships because nobody had any more than the others, or else they'll starve and die. However, starting from the development of agriculture, the difference between people widens. A farmer can either be productive or unproductive, and strong or weak. Sir Paul Collier, professor in developmental economics in Oxford, points out that the relationship between the unproductive strong and the productive weak is that the unproductive strong would think, why should I farm inefficiency when I can just rob the productive weak and make it myself? And because the unproductive weak, productive weak cannot resist him, probably that's how the first leader comes into place. So here is where social classes start to appear. The unproductive strong would naturally become the leader, concentrating more resources under their hands through domination of the productive weak. And the alliances with other unproductive strong makes this system of social hierarchy of this leader in power. Of course, most modern leaders are not pretty bullies and oppressing their citizens like that because they have other concerns in order to keep them in power.
It is here we begin to see complex systems and social hierarchy. However, whether it is a hierarchy or an egalitarian society, they have faced an issue called spacetime.
Alright, so we do not speak of this spacetime in the sense of physics or natural sciences, but rather this is the spacetime of interaction between people. Every person inhabits their own relative spacetime because there's always a delay in the interactions between one person and another. You may react to an event, but by the time you do so, such an event would have changed, developed, and escalated, often to your detriment. Take an example. You may go to a clinic to diagnose an illness, but it will take you time to get there. It will take time for the doctor to actually diagnose the disease, and of course, it takes time for you to get the results back. And by the time that you have got it back, your situation may have worsened and the treatment prescribed may no longer be effective. Now, in everyday life, this isn't too much of a problem, at least not to the point of causing total social collapse. But for complex systems like government, it is extremely so. Governments have to extend the control over very large areas and deal with a wide variety of issues from a variety of aspects, often in combination. To make the decisions that are necessary to confront these problems is very difficult. And taking into that account the bureaucracy or things like voting, then you add even more time wasted. And with this, Even if such a complex system is able to adequately respond to a disaster or crisis, the response would be out of date, and therefore the damage would have been done. In addition to this, the standards that human administrators must reach for this complex system to function, perhaps in a perpetual state, would be inattainable for regular human administrators. At first, the things that such governments do not keep up with are minor, but as time goes on, the lag accumulates and it becomes more and more unsynchronized with reality until it can no longer sustain even its own existence. And that is when the system collapses.
We see this especially with overstrict states. However, society has developed multiple ways to combat space-time. These include the telegraph system developed by the Industrial Revolution and the road systems employed by the Mongol Empire. You might notice that both of these solutions include communication, which is exactly what has been thought of in dealing with space-time. But here in Big History, we're concerned about the future of such development. Tungsten on the left will talk about why AI will cause a wave of decentralization, while Ted would argue that centralization will be a greater possibility in the future under AI.
So what do we think about when we talk about a decentralized society? We think about chaos, we think about war, and we think about places like Somalia in the early 2000s. However, this is not entirely true. In an ideal decentralized society, social order should be present and well maintained, but this is a social order formed and ratified among the entire community. Unlike typical governments, there should not be a small group of people who has monopoly over the entire society's social order. Whether that is the parliament in Western representative democracy, or one single individual controlling the entire society's social order, like we see under the Cultural Revolution. More importantly, we should not be undoing civilization. We do not want to revert to the primitive society that we had in the past, because such society was a result of scarcity, and this is not ideal. This is clearly illustrated by this meme, which tells you why civilization cannot be undone, even if we want to achieve a decentralized society. The ideal decentralized society should be based on the abundance of resources relative to the needs and wants of humans. That is, the abundance of essential resources like food, healthcare, but also more advanced resources like education. This should be a direct result of the automation of labor as a result of artificial intelligence.
How exactly, though, would AI bridge reality and this proposed future? What social transformations will occur to make this idea feasible?
Yes, that is where I have to explain how artificial intelligence is only a catalyst for a social change. And there are many other prerequisites to achieve this type of decentralized ideal society. More specifically, it depends on the path of how we take the technology of artificial intelligence that we have now. The first and foremost thing AI should do is to replace and release the labor force such that no human beings should be in any type of labor. This is inevitable because we already see AI replacing humans in mechanical jobs, especially physically, like automation and constructions, but also mentally, and that is what AI can achieve in the future. We do not need any human labor involved in mentally mechanical jobs. Instead, humans will be in charge of managing the society and economy, creating new possibilities for individual and social needs, or pursuing just their own interests. And this means there would not exist exploitation because nobody is working for anybody else, and because everybody is a manager, everybody owns the means of production, the society will not be divided into classes, in this ideal situation, of course.
So you have mentioned this artificial intelligence's role in this, so it is quite obviously a means of production. So in this case, how would it exactly differ from other existing means of production whose ownership is largely concentrated in the hands of a relatively small section of society as we see today?
This is where artificial intelligence and traditional automation technology are different. Software development is much less costly and has a lower entry barrier than, say, a car production line. You have got to be a very large company to invest in a car factory, but you just need several like-minded peers and several computers to start developing AI softwares. Therefore, there's a higher potential for distributed or common ownership rather than having all the big corporations, all the governments controlling all the AI technology. We already see this in open source computer technology with what we have now, from softwares like Firefox and WordPress, probably you have used some of them, and websites like Wikipedia, and even hardware like Raspberry Pi. And certainly AI would be likely to diffuse and follow the same open source trend in the future. Lastly, education does not have to be a privilege under AI, but a universal right to all. And it is a prerequisite of an AI-driven decentralized society. While the human aspect of teachers is irreplaceable, artificial intelligence can also be teachers in places where the conventional education system cannot reach. AI can also make this more personalized because AI can create a system and guide students based on their personal needs. Education is exactly the weapon decentralization needs. The resistance against inequality of opportunities, against the obscurantism of traditional governments that keeps them in place, because quite often the citizens are uninformed, and therefore democracy will only flourish when participants are well informed and make decisions based on the entire society. And that's the prerequisite for an ideal decentralized society.
But what's really happen? Perhaps not. Rather, it is the ones who are first to harness the great potential of this technology that will enjoy a rather disproportionate advantage. So as we know, the only two groups in the world that are in any substantial control of AI technology are governments and corporations. Under the employment of these two parties, AI has tremendous potential to not only improve productivity, but also to assist in decision making. Of course, AI cannot replace human administrators, but in some fields they can see great effective use, mainly the more statistical ones, such as economics, for example. So in these areas, AI can reach decisions faster and also reach more optimal decisions. This will no doubt improve the efficiency of such governments. So this efficiency would thus allow AI to such authorities to reduce the space-time gap, therefore allowing them to exert their control over a greater area and to a greater extent. Of course, this would mean an empowerment of the existing elite and establishment in present society. And of course, it will result in a wave of centralization, which is now proven to be an efficient and attractive option for rule.
Yes, indeed, but as much as corporations and governments can reduce space-time and the ways of using AI technology, the rest of the population can also utilize the same technology. Even now, with our limited information technology, the space-time of acquiring knowledge is already almost eliminated. For example, we'll know in Hong Kong that an earthquake happened in Mexico just seconds after it has happened because of the internet that we have. And it is hard to tell how much more, with the aid of AI in the future, that we can achieve with this simultaneous reduction of space-time.
However, these people will still have a lot of things going against them. Even if we discount the possibilities of AI being involved in decision-making, it is still a massively profitable and productive technology, and its usage will only result in a further empowerment of its owners and to elevate them socially as a complementary effect. It would entrench the already great financial influence of the bodies that currently operate in. Thus, the unequal distribution of this technology would only advance the unequal distribution of all power and wealth. So, in this case, the groups and countries that are already at a disadvantage will be even further behind later on. In addition to this, you have mentioned of a population taking coordinated action against such attempts. However, this requires a wide political consciousness among this population, which can be undermined in this new order, as these authorities have more channels of influencing such population to subvert and undermine this consciousness, which we are already seeing with present-day corporate marketing strategies. Generally, we have to remember that this concept and phenomena of a widely politically conscious population is a very recent phenomena human history and born under very fragile circumstances, which, if changed, can bring wildly different results.
AI can go both ways, and it depends on who gets it. What can be confirmed is that AI will greatly change the way we perceive the world. We are seeing their impact already, as well as them being used to benefit parties, as with the development of AI military technology by Google for the US. However, as those who have been catching up on this will note, people are also fighting over the use of it, as 4,000 Google employers petitioned against the movement and for it not to be renewed. After hearing the two of them speak, what do you think will happen? Will AI help decentralization, or will it help central authority? This could go either way, and it's up to you to decide which way it will go. Maybe one of you will have the power over some sort of AI technology. Would you keep it to yourself, or would you help bring society closer together? There is no right or wrong answer, only what you believe in. Thanks.
Thank you, Ricky, Tansen, and Teddy.